Welcome to a Telltale Books video. I'm Greg, and I'm going to continue my Michael Moorcock series in this video with the next in the Sojan series. This one being the fourth proper Sojan story and the eighth work of Michael Moorcock, titled Sojan in the Plane of Mystery. Now, just in case you don't happen to know anything about Michael Moorcock, he is still one of our living great fantasy writers, best known for his Elric series, which just last year he published a new book in that series, very popular, been going on since the 1960s. He's still alive and still writing, still publishing books and doing interviews. I see interviews with him all the time on YouTube if you watch the other channels. I doubt I could ever get him on Telltale Books, but he does interviews with a lot of the British YouTube producers. So he is like a living legend in the fantasy field. And he was born in 1939, December 18th, 1939, in England. He actually lives, well, he has a number of houses. He's got a place in Paris, but he also has a place in Texas, here in the United States. So he doesn't just live in England. Perhaps his greatest effect on the field was when he took over the editorship of New Worlds magazine, and he changed the editorial direction into a much more experimental, much more literary direction, and basically started the new wave in the science fiction genre. That happened over in England before there was really much of a new wave happening in the United States. So it got started over in England, and while there were a number of authors here that were already writing which liked what was going on, and so they kind of repeated it here in the United States. Most prominently, Harlan Ellison and his Dangerous Visions anthologies got it going here in the United States, which Emily and I have been slowly going through the entire first Dangerous Visions anthology. So anyway, that's Michael Moorcock. Back to the story at hand. Sojan in the Plane of Mystery was published on May 31st of 1958. Now, as a teenager, Moorcock was hired to edit a Tarzan magazine over in England. And in this magazine, he published this entire series. Although my information doesn't provide me with a publication in that magazine, it looks like Sojan in the Plane of Mystery was first published in this book by Savoy Books, which was published in September 1977 and collected together the entire Sojan series, as well as a couple of other related short stories from Moorcock's earliest days. And these, aside from a Western short story that he published, these were Moorcock's very first published works. So, and by the way, this is the last publication I'm aware of the Sojan series, way back in 1977. I found this beautiful, almost brand new copy of it online for not a whole lot of money, but it's not currently in print. So what happens in Sojan in the Plane of Mystery? Well, Sojan and all the warriors of Hatnor, they travel around in airships, basically dirigibles, that are powered with a propeller. And they have whole fleets of these dirigibles that they take in a battle or whatever. But in this story, it's just Sojan in his ship. He had been to some political ceremony type thing with his crew. They were receiving honors in this neighboring friendly nation, and on their way back they get hit with a really bad storm which blows them way off course, and they get off over a continent that is not very well explored. And the first thing happens is a flying reptile, basically a dragon, flies at them, and in dropping down to try and get away they hit the trees and crash. So now they have to walk back through this unknown plain to get back to Hatnar, or at least get to some kingdom that where they can get some kind of passage to Hatnar, because they're on the other side of a sea from Hatnar. And so then they set off on their adventure. I'll stop at that. Interesting story. Some interesting things happen on the way, including stumbling upon some technology of the ancients. Now, people got to this planet where Sojan lives. They came there from another world, an extremely long time in the past. Possibly from Earth, though it's never explicitly said that they came from Earth, but they came from another world. And they did establish a colony where they had their technology, spaceships, airships, all kinds of technological items, but for whatever reason their civilization fell. They reverted back to barbarism, but there's still these machines around. And Sojan stumbles upon some of that in this story, and that makes for an interesting part of the story. At this point, been going for about a year now. The first Sojan story was August of 1957. We're now at May of 1958, so most of a year has gone by. I've seen the writing improve in these stories. The characters are a little bit better fleshed out. The plots are a little bit better fleshed out. The descriptions are a little bit deeper. You're not just getting like an outline of a story anymore. You're actually getting a story, but it is still pretty amateurish. So don't expect, if you're familiar with Moorcock, don't expect the level of writing that you're familiar with if you give the Sojan stories a try, because this is very early in his career. He's pretty green. So the story is quite short. I think in this book it's like 7 or 8 pages. I read it in less than 15 minutes. Pretty short story, but enjoyable for what it is. Enjoyable as like an amateurish work. It's almost like fan work, almost like fan writing, which is probably where Moorcock was really at. He was probably more of a fan at this point than a professional writer, even though he was working as an editor and writing stories for his own magazine. Even so, I think only the Moorcock completist, the person that has to read everything by Moorcock, should spend time tracking down and reading these stories. So have you ever read any of the Sojan stories, specifically Sojan and the Plane of Mystery? Leave your comments in the comments section. Otherwise, I will be moving along in short order to Sojan and the Sons of the Snake God. We have that one and one more Sojan story, and then we've reached the end of the Sojan book. So come on back for that, and everything else by Michael Moorcock that I'm going to be going through, and everything else that I do here on Telltale Books. Until then, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and help us grow in our numbers, grow in our visibility on YouTube, and get more people to discover Telltale Books. Now, see you in the next video.